I was at my desk when the phone rang. On the other end of it was a young lady. Brady had spent the night at her residence with her son, and she was very upset. She had said that Brady had taken some pills and that he didn't make it. And when you get a phone call like that, at least for me, my mind started to shut down. I don't know if that's just a way of trying to deal with what you just heard, but I remember saying, "What do you mean he didn't make it?" I kept repeating, "Well, where's Brady? Where's Brady?" And she would say, "He's up in the bedroom." Okay, but where's Brady? What I kept saying. My mind would not allow me to get past the fact that Brady was gone. I thought the ambulance would be there, and they would fix him, and he would come home, and I would ground him, take his vehicle away, type sort of thing. I could not wrap my mind around the fact that my son was gone. So finally, she handed the phone over to her husband, and he said, "Dustin, you need to get out here. Brady's Brady's gone." And so when you hear that from another father, then I could hear the stress in his voice. So you start to put the pieces together a little bit, but yet you're still in a pretty deep shock. But the other hurdle that I had was Brady's little brother was in the living room, and my wife was outside in the backyard, and they had no idea. And how was I going to get past them and keep it together without them knowing that our lives had changed forever and that Brady was gone? All because he made a choice to abuse prescription medicines.
My name's Dennis Swisher, and I'm an agent with the DEA. Our efforts are focused primarily in Indiana and the Midwest on heroin and prescription drugs. Approximately 120 people die a day from some form of drug overdose.
One of the things that has happened is we've had a great expansion of prescription drug abuse, particularly opioids. What it used to be that if you died of an accident in the United States or in Indiana, you were more likely to die from a motor vehicle accident. As of 2014, that's no longer true. The likeliest cause for accidental death, both in the United States and in Indiana, is an overdose, an accidental overdose. So an overdose that came not through someone intending to die by suicide.
Start from really what most people would think would be a normal situation. You have some type of injury, some type of medical procedure, and you get prescribed pain medication, and unfortunately it takes that transition, that turn that we hope would never happen. And that's just devastating for families, because nobody is immune from this. I don't care how rich you are, how poor you are, what type of family you come from. Everybody has the possibility of having this type of situation in their family, and then that becomes devastating.
It takes on average about 2 weeks of a prescription cycle before you start getting physically dependent on these medications. So if you take your medications for much more than 2 weeks, say 3 weeks, and then you stop taking them right away, you start developing physical dependency to them. So when you're looking at these prescription medications and you look at the time frame of about 3 weeks, you're already developing an addiction, you're already developing a tolerance, and you're already going through the withdrawal symptoms.
When you back out and look at how we got here, what you're going to see is what has been called the perfect storm. When this movement happened and young doctors were being told that these opioid drugs are safe and they should be prescribed for pain, they did just that. And over that period of time, hydrocodone combination products became not only the most prescribed controlled substance in the U.S., but the most prescribed prescription drug.
And it was just amazing for me to see how many of these people that got addicted were addicted because of prescriptions that me or my fellow doctors had prescribed. And later I actually did a study and found that about half of the people that I treat got addicted by their doctor's prescription, taking it as directed. So other ones had gotten addicted because they started abusing, they started taking them from their parents' drug cabinet, which meant their parents were prescribed too much. So I began to see it as a problem, of prescribing, where most of the people I see are victims of this issue. And I began to see how most of the people I were treating had made decisions that were no worse than decisions I'd made earlier in my life. And yet their lives were, just going to pieces because of this addiction.
Most of the heroin epidemic that we're facing right now stems from prescription painkillers. 80% of the new users started with prescription painkillers.
Young and old alike, legitimate people, get started with a prescription and they don't realize the chemical change in their brain and in their biological system that causes the addiction to occur. So it is almost always beginning with the prescription drugs.
Hydrocodone is an opioid drug. If you trace it back, you'll get to the opium poppy, the same place if you follow heroin back to where it came from. Or these other opioid painkillers. You're always going to end up at the same place, which is the opium poppy.
To bridge that gap from how does someone go from prescription medication to street drugs or to heroin, it's a very easy jump and it's very simple. You don't have any more prescriptions, you need the medications, you can get heroin at any street corner in any inner city across the country and you go right to heroin. And once the teeth and the jaws of heroin have you, it's nearly impossible to get out on your own. 95% of people that enter a treatment center are mandated to go into a treatment center, so that means the drug courts or the law enforcement or the police or a suicide attempt or an overdose ends them up in a treatment center. Less than 5% are actually going to say, hey, I'm addicted to heroin, I need help.
We need to find new ways to solve this issue. We have all the tools to do so, and what we need to do now is to knock down the silos of government and understand that this person needs recovery, treatment recovery, rather than jail.
There's no question the attorneys general around the country all get together and we talk about seeing how this affects our communities and really the families that it destroys. So it's not just the people who are addicted to either prescription drugs or now on heroin. It really rips apart the families that try to deal with these problems.
Our oldest son, Tyler, died in July 2011 from an accidental heroin overdose. Prior to that, Tyler was the consummate student athlete, fun-loving kid, high school, great athlete, Mr. Sociable, wanted to pursue his athletic career in college. He became a starter, they put him on scholarship, and then some injuries. Shoulder injury, broke his ribs, blew a hamstring, those type things. And little did we know that they were giving them prescription pills after games to get through the weekend. So somewhere during that time period, rolling in from his sophomore year to his junior year, something changed about Tyler. begins to use again. And then we saw signs in his room of heroin use. Now we're really scared. We had to look it up on the internet and find out what these little balloons were and what does this mean. And so fear sets in. The coroner was interviewing us, which how many times do you talk to a coroner? And he asked us, had Tyler just gotten out of a rehab facility? And I turned and said, why would you ask that question? And he said, well, we have a high degree of overdoses that happen directly after rehabilitation. And I said, don't you think that's information that we should know as parents? They should have told us. Because if that was so, I would have probably put bubble wrap around him. He would have been chained to my hip. We'd have taken a shower together, as embarrassing that may be for a 23-year-old, but you would have been ultra guarded of your child, but we didn't know.
I didn't think that I was out of control. I thought I was fine, and I didn't think that it would lead to anything besides... I thought I was still going to college. I still thought I had a bright future. I ended up getting with the wrong crowd, and I saw them doing heroin, and I knew, to me, heroin, I wasn't very educated on it. I just thought it was like a painkiller. So I decided I would try it. And so then after that, I started going out and looking for it. Today I am extremely happy. I have goals. I have a schedule. I go to therapy. I speak at schools. The message that I want kids to hear whenever I share my story is to not even try drugs one time. And for an active addict, I want them to know that there is a way out. The other side is brighter. I think that this happened to me because I can handle it, and I think that I have the motivation to go out and tell my story. I like public speaking. I like to go to schools and tell the kids what had happened, and then I will answer their questions as honest as possible.
One message: know that drugs are bad, they're dangerous, and they can harm you and possibly even kill you. And then we'll go right down the list of the young kids that have lost their life when somebody convinced them, the peer pressure that we all faced in high school, when that fell through and somebody said, hey, try this, you'll like it. You need to think twice about that, and that is our message. One bad decision, one bad choice can be deadly or harm you and your family for the rest of your life.
And our society has a long way to go toward understanding addiction and everything that's involved. My advice is you go learn all you can about the nature of addiction and all of its many facets. Because if you understand that, you're going to be in a much better position to help that person and a whole lot of others.